This is called Hip Hop History and Education. That's right. This is a dedication out to everyone who actually learned when Rock and Nas and Cannabis were rapping their words, when KRS won their most death. Let what they know wreck with just one mic. Trigonometry, mathematics, and history were connected and suddenly linked to what I already knew, would listen to and would study and think. Instead of talking, I could just switch off, learn the knowledge, then I'll bust out a freestyle I learned from the greats. If you say what you say in a slick, Rick enough way, people will repeat what you speak. This is the culture, it's forever evolving. We've got to keep it unique, from trying to pop locks and windsills to windmills like generating electricity, punching instrumentals over beatbox when we spit the freeze. This is for spray cans and graffiti spots, believe me. Hip-hop's around within my elements. I spit knowledge when I rap flows. This a new plateau of understanding and relevance. And of course, we have to give it up for hip-hop's history and altered all, from down south to up north, foreshore, from coast to coast, from seabed to foreshore, from when Cooper said the word fuck out on war, there was a stand taken. And so we stand shaking this crooked earth, and as the land's quaking, I'ma stay swinging my lyrical putty like damn native, till even damn native looks at me like, God damn, nigga. I'm just trying to get people to notice me, so I can change their twisted mind frames in the way this world's known to be. They don't worry about copying me a car. That's how bizarre, just like OMC. Because living in the city is hectic. I'm looking at DLT and telling him I just want to break my chains like Shafu and fade away, because living in the city on a day-to-day basis is gonna have me spinning like the jandals on Kinga Pissy in the old plantation. Yeah. Hip-hop, history, and education. Hip-hop is a culture. Within every culture, there are tools for education. So get with the curriculum.
Give it up one more time for Kahu. So I wrote a response to this. I had a lot of fun doing it, and I'm honored to be able to do it. This piece is called Hip Hop Education, and it's aptly titled because in the poem, Kahu drops math, science, history, knowledge, and most importantly, culture in pretty much less than 2 minutes of passionate, insightful, igniting, poetic hip-hop spit. I'm not only geeked to be able to talk about this poem and this work, but I'm honored to have had this platform to respond to Kahu's poetry and the hybrid experience and cultural connectivity that hip-hop offers us. Personally, this twist on the traditional panel discussion is something that we've done in New York for about 6 years now, and I'm so excited to be standing here and participating, because usually as an arts organizer and an organizational leader, I'm putting together the pairings of the poets and the respondents. So this is the first time that I've actually been able to do this, and it's crazy that I'm doing it halfway around the world. So I need to thank again Taylor, Bethany, Edmunds, the Auckland War Memorial Museum, and Rising Voices for having me out. So now to the poem. In hip-hop education, Kahu poignantly expounds, this is hip-hop culture, it's forever evolving. We have to keep her unique, from trying to pop locks and windsills to windmills like generating electricity, punching instrumentals over beatbox when we spit the freeze. This is for spray cans and graffiti spots, believe me. Hip-hop's around within my elements. I spit knowledge when I rap flows. This is a new plateau of understanding and relevance. He spit that a lot more profoundly than I did. But in just 5 densely packed lines, the poet is able to unlock all that is hip-hop culture. First, he explains, this is the culture forever evolving. It is important for me to note here that oftentimes when we hear the words hip-hop, we think about the music of the culture, which is rap. But as Kahu expounds, hip-hop is actually a culture that embodies 4 main elements, and for folks that are new to hip-hop and hip-hop culture, those elements include DJing, b-boy, b-girling, graffiti, and of course rap. All of these elements are also metaphors, simile, spit with the force, to quote the poet, in a way that is like generating electricity in this poem. The beautiful synergy that the culture of hip-hop has to offer us is that it contains the 4 basic elements of all cultures around the globe. So when hip-hop mirrors the cultural context that is found in all of the cultures that you see around the world, it is because it embodies these 4 elements. And so every culture you will find an oral poetic tradition. So the oral poetic tradition that's found in hip-hop culture is rap, is the MC. The oral tradition that you found culturally around the globe, the AURL, is the music of the culture. That's found in the DJ. Yeah. There's dance in every culture. That's found in the B-boy, B-girl. And there's visual art as well in every culture. That's found through graffiti. So hip-hop is a culture because it mirrors all of those cultural phenomena. However, the crux of this cultural movement to me is what African Bambaataa, often dubbed as the godfather of hip-hop and the founder of the universal Zulu nation, calls the element which holds the rest together, which is knowledge. This is what he calls knowledge of self and community and culture. In a recent interview, Bambaataa explains, this is Bambaataa speaking, well, within the hip-hop generation, there is a lot to have to wake up from the spell of Kingu, the spell of sleep. We got to get people back to the 5th element of hip-hop. Get them back to the knowledge. Too many are caught up on the partying. They are not dealing with all the elements of hip-hop. They're just dealing with the rap side of hip-hop. We've got to let them know that it's a culture and come back to the 5th element, the knowledge, because it is what controls and holds everything together. So we see this knowledge of self as the crux of all the work we do as educators who are committed to liberatory education. This 5th element offers us as a base to retain our cultural identity, maintain a space of accountability for others, and re-engage with the celebration of the 4 other elements. This 5th element is a revelation and celebration. The 5th element is throw your hands in the air, and as we see now, I don't know if you are aware of what's happening in Ferguson, Missouri, but it's now become a protest where people are holding their hands in the air in protest of the officers that are killing young black people around the country, but most specifically, one of our young people was gunned down in cold blood on the streets of Ferguson, Missouri, and the sign of protest is the same, holding your hands up. So we're seeing that happening. At its early stages, hip-hop was a form of celebration, a party music that looped breaks with the funky drummer and carefree about the pain implicit in verses like the roof is on fire. But quickly the platform needed to look critically at why the roof was on fire and why folks needed an escape. This was when Grandmaster Melly Mel and the Furious Five penned a seminal song in the history of hip-hop music entitled The Message. Here we begin to see a shift from the park jam to the political, and now rap music could hold the message that painted pictures of the tough realities of the communities that birthed it. So some of you might know that song, broken glass everywhere, people pissing on the stairs, they don't care, don't push me because I'm close to the edge. If you don't remember the other side, you might remember that part. So now hip-hop could be a social commentary, it could be 3 o'clock roadblock protest music. Interestingly enough, that song, The Message, rose to number 2 on the New Zealand singles charts when it debuted, which actually was higher than it had climbed in the States. I think in the States it only made it to number 9. So y'all know what's up. That's all I gotta say. If we go back to Kahu's poem, the second half is hip-hop education through the 5th element, the knowledge of self. As he explains that we have to give it up to hip-hop's history. And here he says that we have to listen to the instructions of Takupu before us. Hip-hop has provided the poet with another platform to take a stand, a lyrical patu, and a community, and excuse my butchering of some of these words, and a community through which the poet can reference from Dam Native to Chefu, OLC to King Kapisi. This is a type of sampling and acknowledgement that is a hallmark of hip-hop. In closing, I want to thank Kahu for allowing me the opportunity to talk about